Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today, I want to just welcome you and let everybody know that who we are is the Institute of Metaphysical Science at scientificmetaphysics.org, who sponsors these conversations. You can find out more about us by going to our website, and there's all kinds of things you can do to participate. We are a 501c3 charitable trust organization. So also, if you feel like supporting the organization and our work, then you can go ahead and donate. So I just wanted to say that up front. So today, we're continuing a little bit of the conversation that we started last week when we were on the road on Money and the Meaning of Life by Jacob Needleman, and really looking at how he looks at, he's got two things going on. He's got the physical manifestation of the world, and then he's got the spiritual world, or that inner world. And one of the things we're going to look at is that's the way a lot of people think. They think, okay, I've got this higher power, and then there's all of my daily living. And one of the things that metaphysical science does is it reconciles that there's only one thing going on. There isn't this thing and this thing. There's one consciousness sourcing all of it. So there isn't this push me, pull you, or two things. So we wanted to sort of address some of that tonight as we're going through and looking at and exploring some more of the interest in this book. So welcome, Betty.
Thank you. Do you want to put up the first quote that we had? In Money and the Meaning of Life, Needleman says, in our time and culture, the battlefield of life is money. Instead of horses, chariots, guns, and fortresses, there are banks, checkbooks, credit cards, mortgages, and salaries, and also the IRS. But, and he goes on to bring that into what gives us a problem with any of that. And what gives us a problem is the inner stuff going on within each one of us. And we are confronted with fear, self-deception, vanity, egoism, wishful thinking, tension, and violence. And in talking about the two areas of living, Needleman talks about the need for them to be in sync with each other. What metaphysical science has provided is a way to see the oneness of all of that. And the oneness is that the spiritual, the divine, is the real, the eternal, the ever-present, the infinite intelligence, the strength of love, the authority of truth. All of that we have called the God idea. That's what's present all the time, fully present. Each one of us sees it within the frame reference of his own perception. Now, the reality, I don't know how to say these words sometimes, but if I can see that what's present when Betty sits here in the chair talking is reality. And the only way that Betty can communicate with herself on this level is to talk as if what I'm looking at, what I'm dealing with, is an actual fact. What I know is that the thing that I'm dealing with, looking at, and fussing with is my point of view on what's actually present.
So can I back us up just a little bit and just say, so if we're looking at in our time and culture, the battlefield of life is money, that very first quote.
Yep.
Let's talk about that a little bit relative to what you just said. So if you're sitting in the chair, so let's look at it from that. Just break that down for me.
Well, Needleman, and we talked about this last week, but in writing the book, in discussing the human situation, the human being that's present, doing what he's doing, looking just like you and me, and the world and what's going on around us, all of that, he says the commonality through every single tiny crevice of human living is money. He says, you mention it, it's got a tag on money. You try to do it, it's got a tag on money. You try to think about it, money.
Right. So when we say that in our current time, this quote, in our time and culture, the battlefield of life is money. Now equate that to me to metaphysical science, and that's the look, that's the language view.
Mm-hmm.
But let's explore that a little bit.
Yeah, well, we've all intuitively gotten involved with that, because when a problem occurs, which is when we pay attention, really, when a wake-up call occurs, a problem, something I've got to resolve, there is in every single individual this innate feeling that we all have, that there is a what they've called a higher authority. There is a power present beyond what my human power might look like.
Right.
And we want to access that. We want to refer to that. We want to lean on that, if I can call it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That always seems remote because we're so full of the attachment we have to the seen, heard, and felt of everyday living.
Right.
And, oh dear, it isn't right. It shouldn't be that way. Or, oh, it hurts. Or, I don't know how I'm ever going to get the money for that. So there's got to be something beyond the resources that I see, humanly speaking. And that resource is something that's innately present when I'm present.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even look at it because it isn't something I can see or feel or hear or taste or touch. So it's a mental presence, if you call it.
I would call it a sense, like an intuitive sense. That's
right. That's a good word for it. And so if we can see that wherever we are, whatever we're doing, that reality, divine presence, is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right there in that same spot, right where you are, is being itself, being whole, perfect, complete, joyous, free, satisfying, fulfilling, all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is present. My experience of it only occurs when I include it in who I am.
Your experience of the
freedom, being, of reality.
Of freedom, of boundlessness, all of that, only when you include all of it. When you have that thought, you're not present here. You're just being. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm not sure you said it. I'm not sure what you said, but yes, it's present now, whether I know it or not.
Yeah.
But when I know it and include it as what's actually going on, my fear diminishes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can see that there is a divine perfection present. And I know that there's an answer.
Right. So you can let go. We can let go of the picture, whatever our judgment is on the picture, whether we like it, we don't like it, whether it looks like lack or need or about whatever it is, we can allow it to be. And when we allow it to be, things move.
Right. And when we say allow it to be, that might only be incremental. But whatever increment you can do that,
mm-hmm.
gives you some freedom, gives you some joy, gives you some peace.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like the statement. I also like the statement that we said, but the enemies, the inner enemies remain the same now as they were in ancient India or Japan, whatever. But the enemies are the same. The things that hang us up: fear, self-deception, vanity, egoism, wishful thinking, tension, violence, etc. You name it. Judgment. You name it. Those are the things that hang us up. in just allowing life to flow.
Yes. And the thing about each one of those items, by the way, they're really antithetic to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's fear is the belief that there is something external to me that can demoralize me, diminish me, kill me, harm me in some way, threaten me. And when I understand the nature of reality, the God idea, if you will, and that it's present right here, right now, right where I am, regardless of all the stuff that I look around and see going on, that is present. My perception of that presence gives me freedom.
Yeah.
And to the degree that I can acknowledge that presence, all that stuff recedes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And answers begin to appear that I may never have considered.
Right. Well, never seen really.
Excuse me. What?
Well, you never would have seen them, probably.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so what I really wanted to say all of that about the reason for saying all that was to have an opportunity to see that we really don't live dualistically. We live as one thing going on, reality present, the God idea present, fully present, whole, complete, perfect. The look of me is the best language I have individually at the moment of being. As that acknowledgement of the presence of perfection is given, then all of those enemies like self-deception, like fear, like violence, like tension, for heaven's sakes,
right,
all of those things recede. And as they recede, I can be myself.
Mm-hmm.
And walk on without fear, without concern, and with answers showing up to the things that have been bugging me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Very cool.
Yeah. So I just, the thing I wrote down too, to believe is to believe in an out there. You know, we look around and sure there's somebody over there and somebody out there, and there's England across the ocean, and there's Hawaii across the Pacific, and you know, my daughter lives across the country from me, and all that sort of thing. All of that look of things in human living is my point of view on omnipresent perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And if my point of view lacks a few things, I need to take a look at how I'm seeing myself and how I'm seeing my living. I'm living as if I really am confined to this Betty thing. And boy, there's a limit to what she can do. It's amazing how much she does anyway, but it's really limiting.
Right.
And it victimizes you.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff. It has you living in a reactionary mode, unable to be fully creative, fully self-expressed, free, whole,
Mm-hmm.
joyous. So anytime you can diminish that belief in something going on out there and just say, wait a minute, right here is where I live. Right here is where I experience. Right here is where I know what's going on. And I can just for a moment acknowledge that there is a divine being. I call it Betty right now, but there is divine being present.
Yeah.
Perfect, whole, complete, fulfilled, satisfied, joyous, free right now. It still looks like I have stuff going on. You know, I'm still sitting at a desk and I have stuff going on here. But for that incremental acknowledgement, there's freedom that comes.
Right.
And I find that my current concerns are handled.
Yeah. And there's a discipline to all of this. Yeah. So I'm putting up the quote that begins, it's from Margaret Laird. But the individual self-conscious living of one all as mind is the self-discipline essential if there is to be self-fulfillment humanly without its negation. In other words, without good, bad, right, wrong, but just good, just peace, right? So if there's going to be that peace without conflict, or health without disease, or good without evil, there is a self-discipline to living, to acknowledging the divinity present. Yeah.
Yeah. And the discipline is if you're going to be humanly involved, if you're just going to argue with it. For instance, I had somebody who said, well, maybe I don't believe that. Well, it would be like 2 and 2 is 4. And you would say, well, maybe I don't believe that. Does that change 2 and 2 is 4? No. But if I can acknowledge that 2 and 2 is 4, I'm going to get further with my mathematics situation.
Right.
Same thing is true with my daily living. It may be that I question sometimes, well, I don't know whether there's a reality that's perfect and whole and present right here, right now, but I'll say it. And for that moment, I can feel the shift in my living.
Right.
And I'm surprised sometimes when some unexpected answer shows up for something that's been troubling me.
Yeah.
It's almost like you can't describe it any other way except give it a try, see what happens.
Yeah. And one of the things that you say in your book, Mind is the Athlete, is the cornerstone of pure metaphysics is one all.
Yeah. Just one thing going on looks like me and the spiritual reality. But it's the spiritual reality looking like me.
Right.
One thing.
I like that. That's good. It's the spiritual reality looking like me.
Mm-hmm.
That's excellently said. Because if you can so I think we think this right here is primary. And then I've got this spiritual reality that somehow, acts on things or whatever that I can pray to. But when it's the spiritual reality is looking like me, it's not me and something else. It's the spiritual reality that's looking like me. It constitutes my existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing going on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is well said, I think.
I read a book many years ago, and I've talked about it in years past. But anyway, the name of the book was Mr. God, This is Anna.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little girl, 5 years old, and she's quite unusual. And she was talking to her friend, Finn, who is a grown-up fella, a good friend of hers. And he says, Finn, where are you? He says, well, I'm right here. And she says, yeah, where am I? He says, well, you're there. And she says, no, something's wrong here. Where do you know that I am? And he thought about it for a while, and he says, well, I know it here. And she says, yes. Because you see, all of my living is here, and it's now. It's not yesterday or tomorrow. It's now. That's all I've got. And I've got it all here where I am. I don't have to deal with it over there.
Right. And that reminds me of the statement. Oh, dang it. Went right out of my head. It reminds me of the statement that I experience the world as I am, not as it is.
That's right. And we all do. We don't experience anything the way it is. We experience it the way we are.
Yeah. So it's all here for me.
Yeah.
It's all here, my living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
The thing is, the solutions are there too.
Yes.
They're right here.
Right. Because
I have the problem, because the solution is ready to appear.
Yes.
And the only way it will show up is this MO for me. If it could do it any other way, it would.
Right. Right. So then we get on to the challenges and allowing ourselves to access a world of possibility in place of settling for the limited observational view. And therein lies the dominion in human living.
Yeah.
So if you want dominion, you're going to allow yourself access to a world of possibility instead of that limited view. And the only way you can do that is just let it be and acknowledge the divinity present.
Yeah, you know, we do spend an inordinate amount of energy fussing with the way things are in our everyday human living. And one of the things that we are learning with metaphysical science is that that is the way it looks, but it's not the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just leave it alone. Let it look that way. Doesn't bother me.
Right.
And when I'm not bothered and I can just leave it alone and acknowledge the fact, even a tiny bit, that all is infinite mind, a universal consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
not a brain thing, not
Right.
anything I have to figure out, but
Right.
a universal intelligence, a consciousness that presences everything.
Right.
That's what's functioning. And
Yeah.
it's like acknowledging opens the door for you to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
And you find yourself with answers for this and answers for that, and on you go. And then some other wake up call comes along, and you say, now, wait a minute. Have I been thinking Betty had to do it and run the show and blah, 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 blah? It's time to just stop, leave it alone. There is a divine presence, whole and perfect, right here, right now, running the whole thing.
Right.
I see it this way. I don't know why I see it this way,
Right.
but the best I can do. But I see it this way. It doesn't mean that's the way it is. Because
Mm-hmm.
the way it is perfection present.
Yes.
So I need to rethink and relook at perfection present as Betty.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. So what else? And if anyone has any questions or comments, you can just type those in and we'll get them here and we can address them. There's a little bit of a delay, but go ahead and type them in. And let us know if you have any questions. If you're liking what you're hearing, give us a thumbs up or a heart or whatever. That's in the Facebook world. But we would appreciate that. If you are on YouTube listening, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Makes a huge difference so that we can grow that side of things as well. But what else? What is there anything else from the book that you want to explore today?
Well, I think it's more of the same. As I go through the book, he does really a great job of presenting the Eastern religion point of view, the Protestantism point of view, and so on, all the way through. But what he keeps coming back to is this dual thing. Mm-hmm. Here we have the physical, and we have, besides that, the mental.
Right.
When you have the spiritual, that is the mental, mm-hmm. and you have the look of it, the point of view, the way you see it, the best perception you've got.
Right.
So one thing going on, and I'm it.
Yeah.
In my world, I'm it.
Yeah. And when you can drop the attachment, drop your judgments and opinions, drop your fear, or allow it to be, then you're left in a whole different place. You're left with a possibility, like you said.
Yeah.
You're left with, okay, now what? With an opening rather than inside a box or what's more confining. There's an opening present.
Yeah.
And from there, you get a whole new view. That's and life right. seems to flow. But as soon as we have our judgment and opinion and all that stuff that's going on, it just tends to hold things in place. And then you have no flow. But as soon as you can drop it, it just goes. It just goes.
And, to believe in an out there, to believe in an other than you, to believe that consciousness is chopped up in pieces and scattered hither and thither instead of one presence, divine, whole, perfect, right now. To believe that there's something external to your being as consciousness present is to play the role of victim.
Mm-hmm.
And your experience of living will be one of frustration. It will be one of helplessness. It'll be one of frustration and helplessness and not knowing how to deal with everyday stuff. And you get discouraged and you get overwhelmed. Uh, you don't need to live that way.
Yeah.
You know, I think man was born to be free, and that freedom is in correctly identifying what's present, called man, and what's present, called man, is the God idea, reality. So the
Yeah.
decision making is always divine, even when you're walking through thinking you thought you'd do it. Well, I think I'll do this, and I don't think I'll do that. You think that's something you decided, but I have news for you. The two-legged animal isn't a decision maker. You are.
Right. The who you are, the divinity of yourself is what
Yeah, you are.
the positive force in your living.
Not the look of you, but you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? And there's no questions or comments yet. So anything else, Mom, before we end today's little live stream?
Well, I think that's it for right now.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you guys very much for tuning in. Again, it's the Institute of Metaphysical Science. We're a 501c3 charitable trust. So if you want to look at any of our materials, there's seminars, there's open mic the first Sunday of every month. That is no charge. You just have to sign up and you'll get a link. There is all kinds of the books, reading and materials, and we have a program. We have different programs that you can check out. We have a beginner course that is literally a home study program that is fabulous. And so there's all kinds of different things. If you are curious, if you want to explore, we have lots of different aspects of what you can explore out there at our website.
Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, so we'll see you again a week from today, and we'll have a whole new subject for you. All right. Take care.